Okay guys, let's continue Sherlock Holmes, the Consulting Detective. Welcome back guys, it's the Raw Geek here. Yes, we're going to play this again. This is the second case. It's called The Case of the Tin Soldier. Okay, let's play. Housekeeper Mrs. Hudson. Oh, okay.
May we be of some assistance, Inspector Smythe?
General Farnsworth Armstead, one of the 6 surviving Waterloo Tontine ticket holders, has been murdered.
Waterloo Tontine?
The Waterloo Tontine was a lottery of sorts, Watson. It was set up in 1815 to aid the veterans of the Battle of Waterloo. Wellington's victory over Napoleon.
Yes, of course, I knew that.
He knew
Quite
that.
an ingenious plan on the part of the founders. £1 bought a ticket in the name of some young relative. The ticket proceeds amounted to over £1 million. Half went immediately to veterans and their families for medical and hardship expenses.
What became of the other half?
It all went into an account at the Bank of England, where it's been collecting interest all these years.
Very clever. And how does one win this prize?
Yes.
Simply by outliving all the other ticket holders.
And now you say one of them has been murdered. Very suspicious. Who are the remaining 5?
The oldest is Captain Robert Jurgens, age 82. Then there are Anita and Claire Thomas, who are 80-year-old twins. William Rowland is 79, and Peter Dudley is 77. Poor General Armstead was the youngest at 74.
Seems as if he would have had the best chance to outlive the others.
I recall reading something in the Times about a big to-do involving the Tontine survivors on the 18th.
That's correct. The Waterloo anniversary banquet at the Langham Hotel.
Why is the name Armstead familiar?
He was a noted art collector, I believe.
What's happening?
He also authored a well-known book, Treasures of the Conquerors.
Quite right. At the time of his death, General Armstead was working on a revised edition for his publisher, Norgate and Company. It was to contain an entirely new chapter on a fabulous diamond called the Polar Star, which at one point belonged to
diamonds.
Joseph Bonaparte, Napoleon's brother. The general had new information which traced the gem to its present owner.
Tell me about the circumstances of General Armstead's death.
Oh, yes, of course. Well, let me see. At 10 o'clock this morning, the general's valet, David Sennett, admitted a caller to the general's study. Sennett says he did not know the man. He was elderly and spoke with a French accent. Sennett told him the general never saw anyone in the morning while he was at work. The gentleman insisted that if Armstead read the letter he had with him, he would make an exception. And so it was. Sennett took the letter in, Armstead read it, and went quite pale. He told Sennett to let the gentleman in. Sensing something amiss, Sennett dawdled in the area of the study for the next 15 minutes or so. Then he heard the distinct sound of swordplay. He tried to enter the study, but found the door locked. Then he heard the crash of breaking glass. He raced to the kitchen and out the back door to enter the study from the garden. By the time he got there, the caller had vanished, and the general was leaning heavily against a shattered display case of military miniatures.
He's stabbed.
Before Sennett could assist him, he dropped a saber from his hand
Oh dear.
and fell over dead.
Proper
I
sword
think
fight.
the letter, which so upset the general, was nowhere to be found.
Correct, Mr. Holmes.
Well, we shall put our brains and our feet to the task.
Right, so some guy was killed. Did they make a note of the names? Main ticket holders are Jurgens, so presumably, you know, you'd think that the suspect would be a member of the Tontine, because obviously they want to get the prize. So the living people are definitely obviously suspects. So let's look at Jurgens first. Should we send them the regular? Ah. I've never really found that that's that useful.
Captain, did you know General Armstead?
Armpit, you say?
Stead. Armstead.
Oh, Armstead. I knew that bloke. A jolly good fellow. Sat next to me at the last shindig back in '65. The 50th anniversary and all that rot. We had a grand old time swapping lies about our adventures on foreign shores. He swore by French damsels, but I argued for the China ladies. I hope they catch the death-rat who killed him and hang him proper.
Have you seen the General since the 1865 banquet?
I've never seen the General with a blanket.
No, since the
What?
banquet.
Oh. No.
Well,
Excellent.
what are your plans for the Tontine money should you win it?
Spend as much of it as I can while I'm still alive and kicking, and leave the rest of it to the Seamen's Fund when I'm dead. Or some people think I should leave it to my only kin, me nephew, Booth Lacey. I never would, mind you. He's a bit of a laggard, has never done an honest day's work in his life. But I outlast the others and be found the
Booth
next day with
Lacey.
the skull bashed in. Look to Booth. He's sure to be holding the club in his hand.
It's a nice thing to say about your own nephew. He didn't sound French and doesn't seem like he was the person that would have had the sword fight, does he? So, well, score's going up already. Oh God. Okay, so let's talk to the Thomases, I guess.
Would you care for some tea?
Thank you, no.
It's really quite good. We were just going to have some ourselves.
Okay,
I really won't be staying long.
We get visitors so seldom.
Did you know the General?
We suppose he was at the last anniversary banquet. But we don't believe we ever...
they're annoying.
We were so sorry to hear of his death. It is such a pity.
Well, so, I imagine you ladies have thought about what you'd do if you won the Tontine money.
We have no living relatives, so there's no one
To share it with should we win?
They're really annoying.
We need very little to
get by on. Undoubtedly, we would leave it to
the Ladies' League for the Preservation of Finches.
Okay. William Rowland.
Been laid up for 2 weeks now with this blasted gout. Such a nuisance. Have to be
Oh, dear.
carted about by my valet.
Perhaps you should try avoiding those rich foods.
Awfully sensible. But I always say might as well eat what you want now, because who knows what they'll be serving upstairs.
Oh, quite so.
Mr. Rowland, did you know General Armstead?
Not personally. I knew of him, of course.
His hair.
Our little group has become quite small. Terrible about his death. Me, I hope to die at the dinner table.
Provided that doesn't happen any time in the near future. Tell me, if you won the Tontine, what would you do with all that money?
There's a question to titillate the imagination. I've played around with that one every day for the past 20 years.
And?
I'm still working on it.
I understand that you have 2 sons in America and a daughter in London.
That's right. My sons own a very lucrative import company, and my daughter's married to a fine lad,
So they don't need it.
Wentworth Cobbett. Though he is
Cobbett.
a bit of a starving poet.
Oh, he hasn't got any money. Cupboard.
I'm terribly sorry to have kept you waiting, Mr. Holmes. I was finishing up my work.
What sort of work?
Wentworth is a poet. He works every day at his art from 10 until 1 in the afternoon. Never misses a day.
Never.
If the world were to end at noon, Wentworth would not know about it until 1.
It's a hard working day. 10 till 1.
Now, what
Writing
can I do for
poetry.
you, Mr. Holmes?
Did you know General Armstead?
Yes, I believe he is one of the Tontine ticket holders, is he not?
Yes, he was. He was murdered this morning.
Murdered.
How ghastly.
Depending on your point of view. It does put your father-in-law that much closer to winning.
What a demonic thought, wouldn't you say? To rejoice in the untimely death of another for one's own gain. Ask not for whom the bell tolls. It tolls for thee.
Very dramatic. Okay, so I'm not sure he would have done it. Who else have we got? Dudley. Let's go to Dudley.
Now, what can I be doing for you, Governor?
I'm working with Sherlock Holmes. We're looking into the
That
unfortunate
noise.
death of General Farnsworth Armstead.
Oh, of course. I've just come off a job I had. My apologies for
Good
not
acting.
working the usual spit polish self.
Oh, don't bother, I hardly noticed.
Make yourself at home. I wish the missus were here to offer up some
What's that
tea.
That's
noise?
quite all right. I won't keep you long.
Heard about the general. Didn't know him, of course. Had no cause to wish him harm, Tontine or no.
Accent's terrible.
But I've got to look at it philosophical like. I'm the youngest now, so I've got the best chance of lasting the longest.
Terrible accent on that guy. So what did he say? I don't know what he said. Oh, let's go back to that. Oh. I forgot his name. Where? He's got association with a questionable company. I see. Where has that other one gone? Okay. It's clear that Watson the man is not a spry young man, so it's probably not him. He's assured he was at home. Was he though? Is there someone I haven't spoke to yet? Oh, Jurgen? No, I did that. Lastly, I learned that he was working on a revision to a book for his publisher and to hear the circumstances of his death. Spoke to them. So, the nephew, Booth Lacey. Let's talk to this guy. Oh, he's not there.
He wasn't in, Holmes, though his landlady suggested we might try the Red Bull Inn. The woman practically talked my ear off, went on and on about how Lacey constantly plays up to his uncle, Captain Jurgens, who's one of those old gents with a ticket in the
Red Bull
Tontine.
Inn.
Thought she'd never hush up.
The Red Bull Inn, okay. Aha.
I was wondering if you'd seen a Mr. Booth Lacey around here today.
Nope. Must be my lucky day.
Well then, if it's your lucky day, why not spread some good cheer in the form of a pint and some food to that unfortunate chap standing outside your door? Poor bloke is missing an arm and a leg.
That poor bloke's your one and only Booth Lacey.
Ah.
Well, the whole thing's an act. He's as normal as you and me. Spends half his time begging out front and the other half swindling folks down at London Bridge Station.
I see. We must find this
Mr.
guy.
Lacey.
There he is.
I see you still make your living by strapping your arms and legs behind you and fooling the poor public out of its tuppence.
Man's got to make a living somehow. What can I do for you, Holmes?
I want to ask you about the murder of General Armstead.
General who?
Really, Lacey. Perhaps you can fool some of the public some of the time, but you can never fool Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, that General Armstead.
Where were you at 10 o'clock this morning?
Where else would I be? I was at church.
You, Lacey, at church. It hardly seems like.
I swear, at St. Mary's. They pass out soup and bread every morning at 9:30. The father will vouch for me. You can even ask him.
I may just do precisely that.
Father sees Lacey every morning in the soup kitchen. We make it a regular stop and place ourselves. Okay, so he was there. So that doesn't really help us. Don't know then. Oh. What was the article they were writing for? Oh, the bank as well. I suppose it could be useful to look at them.
Could you tell us exactly how much the Tontine prize money amounts to at this time?
£3 grand.
The Tontine fund, with interest accruing for the past 75 years, amounts to just shy of £3 million.
Oh, 3 million. I thought it was a
sum, I'd say.
Oh. That's a ridiculous amount, especially back then. That's like $1 billion. That's billions. So that's a lot, yes. Oh, I've not read these yet. Doesn't seem useful. Oh, Panic at the Theatre Française, Paris. Performance at the theatre was disturbed by the occurrence resulting in panic shortly after 10 o'clock. The electric wires supplying the chandeliers came in contact. Light was consequently extinguished. Blah blah blah. Oh, okay. Oh, that's nothing. Can't see anything here. Is anything worth looking at? Nothing to do with our case though, is it? Can't see anything useful there. I'm not getting anything. Russian artifacts, yeah. No. Sir, paying my daily visit to the church, St Mary's, this afternoon, I was surprised to find the caretaker semi-stupefied state. A man missing an arm and leg just entered the church and finding her all alone inquired whether I was in the vestry. Receiving a reply negative, he said, "I see you're alone." Immediately took out a pocket handkerchief and dashed it in her face. The strong smell of whatever liquid had been steeped in the day stupefied her, and she for a moment lost consciousness. Oh dear, so that guy basically chloroformed someone. Why? Who's it written by? Das Hagen. Yep. Or Hagen-Dazs? Hagen-Dazs. Hagen-Dazs? What the... The ice cream? Why is it not here? Oh.
I was wondering, Father, if you happen to know a man by the name of Booth Lacey.
I should say that I do. I see him every morning.
At Vespers?
Wish that it were. No, at our soup kitchen. We can pray for the unfortunates of this world, certainly, but we can also offer them a little sustenance of a more nourishing kind. Every morning at 9:30, our doors are thrown open to those less privileged than ourselves. And every morning, without fail, Booth Lacey is here.
You're certain of that?
I am. You see, with only one arm, he needs someone to carry his bowl to the table. Invariably, I am that someone.
Yeah, and if you're not there, he chloroforms people. Which is very strange. Okay, so he definitely was there, so I presume he couldn't have done it. So who the hell did it then? Well, my score's going massively high now. I don't know. Must be the poet. No, I reckon it's the poet. So it's not Booth Lacey. Right, so it's not Booth Lacey. It can't be. It's not the old ladies unless they got someone to do it for them. It's not the other guy who's laying down with gout. If he really has got gout. But Cobbett, this Cobbett fella. Cobbett was home working at the time of the murder. Oh, he was actually there. So, you know, because his wife could have been lying, but why would the maid also lie? So it can't have been him. What was the company? What was the company? League of Finches. Who's left? Who's that guy? Who's the French guy? Must be something to do with... Let's have a look in here. I think I read this, didn't I? Or maybe not. Marriages. I read that. I read that one, guys. Let's go this one. Waste intelligent, nothing. Fatal accident, charge of murder. John Rowe. I don't know. Okay. Suppose I better ask for some help. Somehow. Let's ask Lestrade if he can help. I don't know.
Do you people have nothing better to do with your time than to interfere in police matters? Well, don't bother with this one. We have the matter under control. I've compiled a list of suspects, which you may not see. I intend to ask each one for an alibi, and the suspect unable to supply one is our killer. Quite scientific, really. Now, off with you.
Okay, great. That's what I'm doing anyway. So, it can't be the guy laid up, but, well, it could still be him because he could be faking that. Two people said that the poet guy is actually where he said he was. The two ladies wasn't obviously them. No, who is the? It wasn't the guy pretending to be homeless or whatever. Can't have been the captain, he was just an idiot, too old. I reckon it's that Roland person. Oh, okay. So it's not him, because he's definitely been there. Excellent. So that guy could have been acting. Jurgens. Oh no, there's something there, didn't I? He just whacked him. Yeah. So what's this company then? It's nothing to do with them. Okay. What's the company they were talking about? Stop going up. What was the company? Who was talking about the company? Lastly, learned that he was working on a revision of the book for his publisher. Yeah. Right, I need to find out who the gathering place for the lower class. Ooh. So Dudley. Yeah. So what's the company? Talk to him again because I can't remember.
Now, what can I be doing for you, Governor?
I'm working with Sherlock Holmes. We're looking into the unfortunate death of General Farnsworth Armstead.
Oh, of course. I've just come off a job I had. My apologies for not looking me usual.
Job of who?
Self.
Oh, don't bother. I hardly noticed.
Make yourself at home. I wish the missus were here to offer up some tea.
That's quite all right. I won't keep you long.
Heard about the General. Didn't know him, of course. Had no cause to wish him harm. Tontine or no. But I've got to look at it philosophical like. I'm the youngest now, so I've got the best chance of lasting the longest.
What's the company? That didn't help me at all. Doesn't help. His missus gave me a biscuit for me troubles. Cool, blimey, governor.
General Armstead. Believe I know that name in connection with the Polar Star Diamond. Believe it was once owned by the Russian Count Rostov, some rich old duffer. Towards the end of '87, somebody pinched it.
Do you happen to know who?
Nobody knows for certain, mind you, but the word on the street was the thief was a Frenchie by the name of Andre Martin. Had quite a reputation as a jewel thief, he did, though his reputation was based mostly on rumor. Just before the Polar Star was lifted, he had been seen in St. Petersburg. A few months later, his body was found floating in the Thames.
Drowned?
No. He had been strangled. The crime was never solved, and the diamond was never found.
Oh. So he's dead. Or is he?
I can't believe we came all this way when there are more important things to pursue.
Indeed,
Yes, okay. Nothing on file. So... it doesn't really help me though. Polar Star. Rostov. Oh, it's one person, Andre Martin. But he's dead, so you can't visit him anyway. So it's just a coincidence that he's there, or was it something Star? Not that I'll be able to talk to him, I don't think. Polar Star or Count Rostov. Don't think they're definitely be able to talk to them. Maybe we should go there.
Well, he certainly was a chatty fellow, but I got the distinct feeling that he had no idea why I...
Well, I thought maybe he'd know where that Rostov guy is. Or they would know. So, Hogg talks about Polar Star gem. That's stolen from its owner, Count Rostov. Martin was later found dead, so... Okay, doesn't help me at all. Okay. Let's maybe talk to some of my other regulars. Who's this person again? He might know something.
Ellis, my good man, what can you tell us about the Tontine story?
Time does take its toll, doesn't it? Back in 1865, the Times sponsored a 50th anniversary banquet. I'm quite sure I wasn't out of my pram, but I understand there were 204 survivors at the time. Now there are only 6. Pardon me, 5. Now that the poor general has been skewered.
That did not help.
Hall's assistant says he's in court and will be there all day.
Ah, okay. That's no good then.
The librarian was kind enough to write down all the information. Evidently, Tontine comes from the name of Lorenzo Tonti, the Neapolitan banker who introduced the system into France in the 17th century. The Battle of Waterloo took place on June 18th, 1815. It is so named because it took place near the town of Waterloo in Belgium. The combined British and Prussian forces routed Napoleon's army, proved to be his final and worst defeat.
How's that help me?
Dear Watson, whatever would I do without you?
Heaven only knows, Holmes.
Get in the room, guys. About this. Medical examiner might help us.
Can you tell us what did him in, Sir Jasper?
A sword
through the heart, a smart upward thrust.
Yes, well, we knew that, but okay. What's it do? He's criminology lab. That doesn't really matter. Yeah, this might help. Gossip guy.
The good general married into a considerable fortune when he took Lord Finch's spinster daughter Mary off his hands. Mary's brother, the present Lord Finch, was opposed to the marriage from the very beginning, and there was still considerable friction between him and the general. But through holdings which the general inherited from Mary, he and his former brother-in-law were in business together. Ah, the ironies of life, eh?
Why do you think Malcolm Fitch was so opposed to the marriage?
Well, I'm not sure, but it had something to do with the general's reputation with the ladies. Of course, this was before my time. Now, I'm not certain he can be of any help to you, but you might want to check with my illustrious predecessor, Mr. Lloyd Shoemaker.
I'll make a note of that.
You know, of course, the general wrote a book about art collectors and included some less than chivalrous details about how a few of them had come by their collections. One man, Carson Cabot, a gem collector, was quite incensed by being so named. In fact, he accosted Armstead and fractured the general's collarbone.
I understand that the general was going to include a chapter on the Polar Star Diamond in his revised book. Would you happen to know if Cabot had anything to do with that particular gem?
Well, I can't be certain, but being the collector he is, I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't already have it in his possession.
So Cabot and someone else.
Can I help you, Mr. Holmes?
Mr. Cabot, I'm looking for the murderer of General Farnsworth Armstead.
Is it you?
This morning.
You don't beat around the bush, do you?
Not if I can avoid it.
Well, it so happens I've been at home all morning.
Can anyone corroborate that?
Yes, I can see that.
Well, of course you can.
Either you've been at home all morning, or there's some other good reason why you are still attired in your bedroom slippers.
Funny. Who was the other person? Lord Fitch. Who was the other person you wanted me to talk to? Predecessor.
I admit I strongly disliked Armstead. He was a cad who made my sister's life miserable. I argued at length with my father against the marriage, but to no avail.
But what was your sister's opinion at the time?
Well, unfortunately, Mary was not the attractive sort who had scores of suitors. My father was afraid she'd be left a spinster. The engagement was arranged just before Armstead went to France. During the year he was gone, I had him watched and discovered he was in the thick of some scandal involving a young French girl.
And you told your father?
Well, he wouldn't listen. I even went so far as to give the story to the newspapers. But my father got wind of it and used his influence to prevent its publication. I would have done anything to keep my sister away from that man.
Including murder?
Why, that's preposterous. Well, surely you don't think... I was scheduled to meet with Armstead today. But you see, my wife took ill. I spent the whole morning attending to her here until Dr. Ainstree arrived at around 11 o'clock.
Is that true?
We understand you were summoned to Lord Fitch's residence this morning.
Quite right. I received the message at around 9 o'clock and arrived at their home by 10. Lord Fitch met me at the door.
Said 11. The other guy said 11. So, couldn't have been these people. Dr. Ainstree, couldn't have been Fitch. Whichever person's name he said to us to talk to, can't remember. Might have to go back there and ask again.
The good general married into a considerable fortune when he took Lord Finch's spinster daughter Mary off his hands. Mary's brother, the present Lord Fitch, was opposed to the marriage from the very beginning, and there was still considerable friction between him and the general. But through holdings which the general inherited from Mary, he and his former brother-in-law were in business together. Ah, the ironies of life, eh?
Why do you think Malcolm Fitch was so opposed to the marriage?
Well, I'm not sure, but it had something to do with the general's reputation with the ladies. Of course,
so you are sure?
This was before my time. Now, I'm not certain he can be of any help to you, but you might want to check with my illustrious predecessor, Mr. Lloyd Shoemaker.
Shoemaker, right. Get to the point. Frustrating.
Langdale Pike told us you might be able to help us.
And how is Langdale these days? Has he lost his job? Or perhaps you're here to tell me that he's succumbing to some rare disease.
Oh, heavens no. You'll be happy to know he's in the very pink of health.
Oh, I'm sure you have no idea how that makes me feel.
Mr. Shoemaker, the reason we're here is to ask about General Farnsworth Armstead and the circumstances of his marriage to Mary Fitch. Have you any recollections that might help us?
Ah, Miss Mary Fitch. As I remember it, Lord Fitch was in a dither to marry off his daughter. Auction off might be more appropriate, actually.
And Armstead was the highest bidder?
Suffice it to say that despite a reputation as a randy dandy, Armstead's career prospects were bright, and that seemed to be enough of a recommendation for Lord Fitch. The girl's brother was very much against the match and did everything he could to break it up. Soon after the engagement was announced, Armstead went on a tour of duty in France, where he had an affair with a young French girl. She became pregnant with his child.
Positively scandalous.
What's her name?
Farney and I spent over a year quartered together in France in War College. We became the best of friends.
Did you know much of the General's personal life at the time?
Ah, he always put the rest of us to shame in the matters of love. Said it was because we had no horse face to spur us on.
Did the General have a passion for horses?
Mon Dieu, no. He was engaged to a terribly unattractive woman by the name of Mary.
Alright, ease up a little bit, jeez.
Behind her back, that's what he called her. Horseface.
How dreadful. Whatever became of her?
She eventually became Mrs. Armstead and brought her great fortune to the marriage. I believe that Farney looked upon his stay in France as his last great fling.
Are you saying that there was no particular woman at the time?
I did not say that. There was one, but I never met her. My little flower, he called her. I remember one night he could not sleep. He was slightly drunk, and he kept rambling on about promises that must be kept and promises that couldn't be. Finally,
He collapsed on the bed with such sadness in his eyes, I will never forget it. "Ma Fleurette," he said. How very touching.
Have you seen much of the General over the years?
We have always maintained our friendship through correspondence, until last week, that is. It was the first time we had seen each other in over 40 years. We had supper, and then went to see the French actor Philippe Arnaud perform. The General commented that my presence beside him while French was being spoken reminded him of the old days.
So your visit went well?
Exceedingly well.
Can you think of anything that might have been troubling him?
No, the General was in excellent spirits. He joked about the upcoming Tontine celebration at the Langham, and he was very enthusiastic about the new information concerning the Polar Star. In fact, this week he was supposed to meet with a countryman of mine about it.
Really?
It is hard to believe that my good friend is gone.
Who's the countryman that he's supposed to meet? Tell us. Ugh.
Bloody shame it was about
Was
General
it?
Armstead's death.
How touching, Shinwell. You're really grieved to see him pass on.
Well, sure, I had me money on him.
Huh.
I should have trusted me instincts and gone with one of the ladies.
Captain Jurgens doesn't seem to have had much of a following, even at 25 to 1.
Nah, that's just Booth Lacey and his cronies, and that's really a sentimental bet. You see, Jurgens is Lacey's uncle.
Done that. The Princess Theatre. That's what it's called. Oh, God's sake.
Ah, but you must
That's the
see
theatre.
Philippe perform. My nephew's an artist, a wonder. He manages to portray the Emperor Napoleon from age 19 until his last days on the island of Salerno. You would swear 5 different actors playing the part, but no, it is only Philippe aging before your eyes. At 48, he's the toast of the continent.
You seem rather young to be the uncle of a 48-year-old man.
I am but 8 years older than Philippe, though I can assure you I am his uncle. You might say that our family has a history of late arrivals. Philippe's father was 25 years older than myself, and Philippe's poor sister was 15 years older than he.
Why do you say poor?
She died many years ago under tragic circumstances. In fact, her mother was so upset over her daughter's death that she was put into an asylum. We received word yesterday from the asylum that she had also passed away. It upset Philippe very much, resurrecting old ghosts, as you might say. But we have been playing for enthusiastic audiences for several weeks. As we say in the business,
The show must go on.
And Philippe is a trooper. He would never allow it to affect his performance.
Can you tell us where Philippe Arnaud is this morning? We should like very much to meet him.
I tried to.
He is not here now. Our company is staying at the Grand Hotel. However, I believe today he is visiting the National Gallery.
Huh.
But if you would come back this evening, I will have tickets awaiting, and after the show, you're welcome to come backstage and meet him.
I tried to talk to him already. So where should I go then? Which place should I go to see him? Is he going to be there now? I don't...
How fortunate that Inspector Lestrade authorized the hotel manager to allow us to search Philippe Arnaud's room.
Oh, okay.
Perhaps we can return the favor and solve a case for him someday.
Perhaps.
Today, for example. Let's look around.
How strange that a man who requires a cane would leave without it.
Perhaps he doesn't require it for walking.
Look here at the handle. Well, that could certainly give a fellow a start.
Precisely, Watson. Look here. It appears to be a letter.
Looks quite old. It's addressed to Captain Armstead, 12th Hussars. Shall I read it?
Please do.
That's the letter.
Dearest, how I hated you for leaving me, but the child, our child, eased my heartache and muted the hate. Now my sweet baby is dead. How cruel that the innocent must suffer for the sins of others. Now I have nothing. Now I am nothing. I cannot bear the pain. Goodbye, I love you still, Fleurette. How tragic. Why, perhaps this is the very letter that the General read.
Good thinking, Watson.
So, he's the killer. So that's the answer, right? Let's solve the case.
I'm sorry, gentlemen, but it seems you will have to turn up a clue or two.
What? Why? Okay, how do I talk to him then? Can I talk to him yet?
I've rung
Alright. Okay, so what about the theatre? But then, how do I know it's going to work?
Ah, but you must see Philippe perform. My nephew's an artist, a wonder. He manages to portray the Emperor Napoleon from age 19 until his last days on the island of Savarnay. You would swear 5 different...
Well, how do I now see him? Like, I don't... Do you know what I mean? I don't get it. 10 AM. Why can't I go and see him? Oh, my score's really high now, damn it. Why can't I see him? Oh, the National Gallery, that's where he's currently at. Right, let's go and try and catch him there. Right, let's go find him. Okay.
I can't believe we came all this way.
How about if I send some spies? Oh, okay. That didn't help, did it? That didn't help. They met the troop. This land, blah, blah, blah. Is currently visiting the National Gallery. How is this not enough clues? Fleurette. They found the weapon. They found the letter. He's French. He's strong enough to do it. He was obviously the killer, right? So why can't I do anything new? Ah, what does it want from me? Oh, foreign dignitaries. Can I go here? Oh.
Are you from the police?
Were you expecting the police?
I was.
That's a Russian
my
guy.
valet, Vladimir, reported to me that his interview with Pierre Martin
Why? It never
was
mentioned this
decidedly
anywhere.
unproductive, as he was dead when Vladimir arrived.
I see. Tell me, why did he go to see Martin in the first place?
It was in reference to a certain valuable
It's diamonds.
possession of mine that was stolen some years ago by Pierre's brother, Andre. I was in Paris, and I read in the London Times that General Armstead was to revise his very interesting book to include a chapter concerning that possession. Originally, I came here to visit him.
Then, how did you discover Martin's whereabouts?
Shall we say, someone made me aware that Martin was also in London, that he was the general source of information. But when the General Armstead was reported dead, I had no other alternative but to pay a call on Martin. So I sent Vladimir, an old man's legs, you understand, to speak with him.
Oh, okay. So that Vladimir was the person, so why couldn't I talk to... well, I'm sure I saw a Vladimir name somewhere. Yeah, next to Philip Ard, yeah. But can I talk to him? Well, that's another bit of video. Is that enough now to talk? It's obviously that Philip Arnu guy.
No, gentlemen. You haven't done a thorough enough job of investigating.
Why? Why? What other hotels are there? How are they?
How in the world did you hear about it so soon, Mr. Holmes? The body's still warm. Couldn't have happened more than 10 minutes ago.
Body? What body?
Well, the one what's upstairs in 203.
What?
Here for something else, actually. Looking for Pierre Martin.
Well, that's the very fellow what was done in.
Oh dear.
Tell me, young man, do you know what transpired?
Well, Mr. Martin checked into the hotel on the 8th. He was a Frenchman. I didn't speak to him much.
Who discovered the body?
I did. Well, I came along to his room to deliver a wire. Here it is, sir.
Information still valuable. See me, Wells Osborne, Norgate and Company, publishers.
Wells Osborne.
Tell me, did you see anyone suspicious hanging about?
No. No, sir. Well, actually, now that I think about it, there was a rather large man with a foreign accent. Russian, I think. He said that he wasn't sure about the address and that he'd only just arrived in London. He asked for Mr. Martin, and I sent him straight up.
Killed him, obviously.
Well, he was rather well-spoken and well-mannered. I didn't think anything of it at the time. A few minutes later, he came down. He was practically running. I saw him go out the front door and hail a cab.
Was there anything amiss in the room?
I'll say. An inkwell was toppled on its side, left an awful mess on the carpet. Big blue spots and inky footprints right the way to the door. The manager will be in a fret when he sees it. Fortunately, there was no blood.
Perhaps he was strangled.
Yes. Wells Osborne. Who's this?
I can't believe we came all this way without...
What's he doing? Northgate Company.
General Armstead's book has been a very controversial subject from the start.
I understand the original publication caused quite a stir among the public.
Oh, yes, indeed. Well, you know, of course, that many of the treasures listed in the book had, in fact, been stolen by their present owners. That revelation caused quite a sensation, and we were delighted. The more libel suits that were pressed against us, the more the book sold.
May I ask why the General chose to revise an already successful book?
There was one piece of critical information missing from the first edition.
A diamond?
It was the whereabouts of a fabulous diamond called the Polar Star.
Seems to be a very popular gem.
Indeed. So you can imagine his excitement when last March he received a letter from a Frenchman by the name of Pierre Martin, who claimed to know where the diamond was. He had even provided a detailed description of how the gem was stolen from its last known owner, a Russian fella, a Count Rostov. He said the thief was an Englishman.
Might you know his name?
Martin wouldn't tell unless we paid. As I understand, he was in town a day or so ago,
It's that Caddock
and
guy.
had tried to set up a meeting with the General. Unfortunately, I don't believe they had a chance to meet.
So he's now dead, killed by probably Vladimir for the General to get his diamond back. He was supposed to meet someone else, but I don't know. That was obviously the other Caddock guy, or his name was. Can we solve it yet?
No.
No.
I found the General leaning over the display case. He had his saber in hand, the one that usually resides above the fireplace.
I understand he was a collector of military figures.
Yes, the display in the study shows the last great British charge that swept the French from Waterloo.
Is there any significance to the fact that the figure of Napoleon is
How did I
facing
not look at this before?
Oh, strange. Perhaps I should go and set it straight.
No, don't touch it. Not until the police have concluded their investigation.
Oh, yes, yes, of course, of course.
I also noticed the portrait over the display case.
The late Mrs. Armstead.
Do I detect a note of hostility?
I must admit we did not get on very well. But I might say that Mrs. Armstead did not get on very well with anyone, including the General.
You mean they didn't marry for love?
Hardly.
We knew this. How did I not
Mrs.
go
Armstead's
to... I
father
just...
arranged the match.
Because he was dead, I didn't bother going there,
Lowry
but
was
obviously...
very generous. Lord Fitch would have paid any amount to ensure that he would not be left with a spinster daughter, especially such a nasty one.
If there was no love lost between them, why did he keep her portrait in his study?
Actually, it was put up there to needle Mrs. Armstead's brother, the present Lord Fitch. He never approved of the marriage. Even after her death, they were involved with mutual business affairs. They jointly owned stock or some such thing.
Tell me, do you know what the General was doing at the time the intruder arrived?
Yes, he was working on the new section of his book. The part that concerns the gem, the Polar Star. It was very interesting, really. It traces the ownership of the gem to the brother of Napoleon, to the Russian Count Rostov. Unfortunately, the gem was stolen from the Count 3 years ago. As a matter of fact, the General just received a letter from a Pierre Montan, who said that he was willing to divulge the name of the present owner of the gem for the agreed-upon fee.
Do you know where Mr. Montan might be found?
I believe he's staying at the Bridge House Hotel.
Oh, that's why I'd know that.
Have
If I'd have clicked here,
anyone out of the ordinary in the past
I
several
would
days?
have had to go through all of them.
Really. An old friend of his has been in town, Jean-Paul Girard. Neither the General nor I have seen him in 40 years. In fact, they were going to meet this afternoon at the French embassy.
I'm obviously
Jean-Paul
curious
Girard.
about the General's last visitor. Could you describe him, please?
He was an old man, a rather short fellow. He walked with a cane and carried a carpet bag.
Did he give a name?
No. He simply wanted to see the General, and he handed me a letter to take into him.
Did you read it?
No, it was in an envelope, rather yellowed with age, though I noticed it was addressed in a graceful hand to Captain Armstead, 12th Hussars, the General's old regiment. When the General read it, he went very pale. Then he asked me to admit the gentleman.
Tell me, when you finally got into the room from the garden, were the study doors still locked?
Yes.
I noticed that there is an 8-foot fence surrounding the garden, and that the only way into the garden or out of it is through the kitchen door or the study.
How terribly observant, Holmes.
Oh, okay. Oh, what was the person's name that you mentioned? Is it him? Right. Oh, who did they say I was going to meet? How annoying. Can we go there yet? Come on.
Hear ye, hear
Oh,
ye.
okay. Let's just try and solve it.
The Queen's Court now stands in order.
I see we have the pleasure of your company, Mr. Holmes. I understand you've been investigating the murder of General Farnsworth Armstead.
That's correct, my lord, and I believe I have
What's his
solved
name?
the case.
Do you now? Well then, tell me, who murdered... A brilliantly logical deduction, Mr. Holmes.
Thank you, my lord.
Now tell us, why was the general killed?
Wasn't for money, because he wouldn't get it. To avenge the honour of our new sister, perhaps, because of the, well, no, wasn't it about... Yeah. 'Cause she was pregnant and then she, like...
Now, tell me, gentlemen, what was the general trying to say when he turned round the figure of Napoleon?
He wasn't trying to say anything, the figure was 10x8, no. His murderer was the actor who was portraying Napoleon. Yes.
Rather clever of the old boy, what?
What name did the general call Mary Fitch? Horseface.
Well, you've done an admirable job in resolving this mystery. I'd say you're on a par with just about any other armchair detective out there. I would suggest, however, that you rethink this case again, thereby improving your sleuthing skills.
My score was terrible again. Why was it so bad?
My word,
damn it!
Holmes. Perhaps we are in the wrong business altogether. I think I will ring up the university immediately and see if we might enroll in a detective course.
Why is my score so bad? How can you do it with 40? That's just not possible. I think I need a pen and paper so I can write down the names, because otherwise I just forget and I just randomly click on things like, is it that person? Is it that person? Is it that person? Is it that hotel? This place? Damn it.
You say you've come up with a solution, and yet you sit there calmly cleaning your meerschaum. Please, Holmes, tell me what you've uncovered.
Weren't you there at the judge?
It's quite simple, really. The most intriguing fact about this murder was the method. Mr. Sennett's report that he heard the distinct sound of swordplay struck me as most odd. It suggested an affair of honor. At General Armstead's home, my suspicions were confirmed. The old letter addressed to Captain Armstead, a rank he'd held some 40 years ago, suggested that it must have concerned something from the past. Something that was clearly upsetting to him. That was the reason for the duel.
But how can you be so sure there was a duel?
Simple reasoning, my dear Watson. The general had time to place his chair against the wall, climb upon it, and retrieve a saber. The murderer allowed him to arm himself. A duel is the only event that fits with the facts.
Are you sure the caller carried a sword? I thought all he had with him was a carpet bag and a cane.
You were the one that showed us the cane, Watson.
The intruder was described as an old man, yet he left the premises over an 8-foot wall.
It was a
Clearly,
disguise.
he was in disguise, and carried off the ruse with enough expertise to completely fool the general's manservant. The carpet bag must have been used as the receptacle
we all get
of
it
disguise
now.
when it was no longer needed.
Positively clever of you, Holmes. But what made you think it was Arnaud?
Well, since we were looking for someone adept at the art of disguise, Gerard's mention of the actor Philippe Arnaud struck a chord. Also, Arnaud plays Napoleon. No small coincidence.
What are you getting at, Holmes?
When the general
Watson, you were there!
with Napoleon, he was trying to tell us that his murderer was Napoleon. Or rather, the actor playing Napoleon, Philippe Arnaud.
So Arnaud killed the general to avenge his long-dead sister's honor.
Yeah.
Ah, well, unlike most of our cases, this motive was closer to the heart than to the pocketbook.
Quite so, Watson. When Arnaud's sister Fleurette was an impressionable young girl, she fell madly in love with the dashing English captain. When he left, she took her own life.
So pathetic.
Wait, there's more. Fleurette's grief-stricken mother went mad and was sent into an asylum. Thus, in the twinkling of an eye, little Philippe Arnaud, who was but a child himself, lost both his mother and his sister.
It's so sad. I'm sure he was too young to understand the circumstances that caused it.
Yes, but 4 decades later it all became clear when he found a letter written by his sister. It yielded an explanation and a name. Armstead. He came to London armed with that letter and a sword cane.
But he was here for several weeks before he did the deed.
Yes, and he might not have done it at all had it not been for the news of his mother's death. That was the final blow. He went straight away to the general's home to take his revenge. Voila.
Positively brilliant, Holmes. How do you do it?
His pipe cleaner, of course.
Yes, with the pipe cleaner, obviously. There you go. My score was terrible again. I don't think it was as bad as the last time, was it? Because I actually understand now that it going up is a bad thing. Anyway, I thought that was quite good. So yeah, that's the second case done, guys. Just one more case left. Hope you enjoyed that. And that will do it for this one. So guys, that about do it. Click like if you like that. Make sure you're subscribed for more videos like this, and I'll see you on the next video. And until then, remember, it's elementary. Okay, bye.
Guys, if you're still here, you're awesome. But as you are still here, why not check out some of my other videos? Oh, and if you haven't already, please click subscribe. Laters, haters.